Hey guys, Guinea Pigs 1 here. So, as I said I would do, I'm going to talk about a very sad topic about Nanook. So this happened extremely suddenly. Thursday night at about 11 p.m. I was down here saying goodnight to everybody like usual just before I go to bed, and I always stuff their hay full. And I was putting hay in the hay rack for Nanook and Reese, and just like usual they popcorn a little bit and started eating their hay. Everything was normal. 6:30 Friday morning, when I came downstairs to do our usual routine, spot cleaning, veggies, all that, I noticed that Nanook was not up at the front of the cage, which is very weird, and she was laying on top of her snuggle sack. So I passed her little piece of hay tab, and she did eat that. I'm pretty sure she did anyway. But she was just staying there, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem right. So I started petting her, and she would just let me pet her completely, which also is not normal. So I passed out vegetables. She didn't want any vegetables. She just didn't want to move. So I immediately figured maybe she's a bit bloated. So I took her out of the cage and gave her gas drops right away, did tummy rubs, and gave her some critical care. And when I put her back in the cage after all that, she did poop about 6 or 7 times. So that was a really good sign. She would move around a bit, but she just wanted to lay down and try to get comfortable. So my husband was home that day. I had to go to work, so I had him continue with gas drops every hour, a little bit of critical care and tummy rubs, and he said the same thing, that after the first time he did it and put her back in the cage that she pooped. So we had a vet appointment that my husband took her to later, and she got a pain injection and sub-Q fluids so that she wouldn't be dehydrated and to take her pain away. Exact same treatment as we did for Butter Pecan when she was bloated. So unfortunately, like when I came home from work, I continued on with the care that my husband was doing for her. And as the time went on, she just got weaker and weaker. It was like she was just giving up. I was doing all the tummy rubs I could do. I was trying to see if she wanted to eat a teeny bit. Just petting and loving on her. But she just kind of started to feel, for lack of a better word, just heavy. When you would pick her up, it was just like she was already starting to go. So very unfortunately, she did pass away in my arms at about 9:30 that night. And it was so sudden and so shocking. I just have no idea where that bloat came from. It happens in guinea pigs, and obviously, as you know, it can be fatal. It's so unfair. All she would have had overnight is their hay like usual. They get fed the same things every single day in the same order. I have no idea what went on, and I have no idea why it took her so fast. She was a rescue pig who was left out in a shoebox on the street. So having her here was so special, and it just sucks so much that she doesn't even get to enjoy life now. She was here at the beginning of the year, I believe it was, in January. She had a great time. It was hard to pair her up with somebody, so Reese was like the magic pig for her, and she was so happy with her. Nanook, she was always a very slow pig. Her digestive system was always slow. You had to get her up and moving, and that's when she would start pooping. She was, I don't want to say lazy, but she was always very relaxed for things. So I don't know if that played a part in her stomach not functioning properly when the bloat was going on. I don't know. It just absolutely sucks, and I've never been so friggin' upset for just feeling like it was so unfair and so fast, and it was like she was here and then all of a sudden she wasn't, and I tried so hard for her. Like, I did not leave her for hours and hours, just trying to make sure she was comfortable, that she was warm, trying to work the gas out. But even despite all that, she just steadily was going downhill. And I just knew, like, it was not looking good. So yeah, Nanook passed away, and it sucks. So then, of course, when a piggy passes away and they leave their friend behind, that makes things so much harder and depressing. So I'm just gonna briefly touch on the differences that we have made here so far. Obviously, you're gonna see Willie. You met him in the video earlier this week. He's attached to Apple and Huckle's cage. I need to change name tags, but right now Nanaimo and Raisin are over here. So what was happening with Reese was her cage was set up the same as it is right now for these other guys. She was just staying under these wood logs, and you'd give out her veggies and stuff, and she didn't really want to come out too much. She was still friendly for being pet with my husband and I, but she was just staying very isolated. Oh, something I should also note is Friday after Nanook passed, I did leave her on her bed covered up with her little fleece blanket all night so that Reese would know what happened to Nanook and understand that she was gone. So she stayed in the cage until the morning, and then she is now buried. So Reese had a long time to really process what happened, and that Nanook is gone because she passed away, not just disappeared. So the change that I made was this cage now is completely open, and it has Butter Pecan, Littlefoot, and Reese in it right now. So Littlefoot is neutered, and Butter Pecan is a spayed female, and then little baby Reese is with them. So things are going very well. It was pretty intense for about 5 minutes in the very beginning of intros, but I sat on the floor with them and just seemed a little bit hostile with, you know, everybody's not sure of what the other pig's doing. So I just pet Reese a bunch and pet Pecan a bunch, and that actually really made things de-escalate pretty quick. So how it's going is Littlefoot is the top pig, and then Pecan, and then Reese. Reese and Pecan were the first two to work out who was the boss of who. So Pecan's the boss of Reese, and they came to a pretty good understanding fairly quickly. All it took was Pecan doing like kind of like fake jumps and little nips at her to tell her to back off, and then there was lots of like Reese, if she was laying down sleeping, Nanook would, no, not Nanook, Pecan would come up to her and just stand there and stare at her and make her move. So really quickly Reese understood that Pecan was going to be able to boss her. So then she started trying things with Littlefoot. Littlefoot has a personality where he does not want confrontation at all. He tries to avoid it at all costs. So at first he would just kind of go away from her because he doesn't want to have any problems. And so then she would chase him, and then he'd have no choice but to turn around and then do nips or little jumps in her direction to kind of be like, no, back off. So last night there was a lot of rumbling. Reese was just kind of rumbling and flying around the cage, and it was no big deal to Pecan. She just kind of would stop there and look at her, and that would make Reese be like, okay, never mind, I'll go back. And she did more chasing with Littlefoot, where they kind of go around a bit in circles. I'll insert some footage, and like he would tell her to stop, and then she'd go try it with Pecan. She would say stop. It was just quite noisy, but there was no aggression. There was nothing scary. I did see one jump from Reese. She was in her cup and Littlefoot was trying to get her to move out, and she did jump at him, but she like jumped at him and then quickly ran away, so it wasn't like she was jumping to fight with him, but that hurt his feelings. So now he's kind of giving her quite the wide berth. So if she's kind of getting close to him, just like all she could be doing is just coming to eat hay, he'll kind of walk away because he doesn't want to deal with that. So I think it'll just be a bit of time for him to realize that everything's okay. Like, all pigs deal with it differently, so that's always kind of been how Littlefoot is during introductions. He really doesn't like piggies coming up to him and being too confrontational. He just kind of wants to stay away from it. So I think as time goes on and Reese can get closer and closer to him and he realizes it's not a big deal, it'll be fine. Like, they're all sleeping right now. They all ate their veggies together. They all ate hay and pellets together. It's just when Reese walks up to him to test the limits that now he's deciding that he just is not too happy about it. But we will see. I'm hopeful that this will work out because they've been together now for about almost 24 hours, and in my experience it was usually the first 20 to 30 minutes where if crap was going to go down, it happened fast. So it just takes them time to adjust and time to trust each other and to get used to who's the boss of who, and things will slowly de-escalate. They'll get closer to each other and know that the other pig's not going to bite them, because that's the biggest thing. When she gets closer to Littlefoot, he doesn't know what she's going to do, she doesn't know what he's going to do, so it'll just take some time to have some trust there. So Pecan's sleeping in there, and I think Littlefoot's in that tunnel, and then Reese is there. So when she was with them, I didn't have my camera at the time, but she had jumped in that cuddle cup and she was doing the craziest popcorns I've ever seen. Like, she was almost rolling completely over. And Littlefoot was having a great time in this cage too, with running and popcorning, because this is a 3x8. I forget if I said that. So that's the entire wall of this room that's their cage. So it's a really nice setup. And I will have to change the name tags around. I really did not want to have to bring in like another piggy, because Willie here, he was already on his way. We had already had that set up that he was going to be here long before Nanook passed away. And since he's special needs and has some things going on, I definitely didn't want to bring in even more pigs. So the only other option where Reese could go would be with Nanaimo and Raisin, which I'm reluctant to try since Nanaimo has the heart murmur and she seems peaceful with Raisin. And the other thing is, these two are really spazzy pigs. So I would much prefer, since Reese loves to be pet and interact with my husband and I, if she could stay with Pecan and Littlefoot, because those two are very mellow, and pigs definitely pick up on things like that. So if I put her with Nanaimo and Raisin, I'd be worried she'd pick up some of the spazzy, untrusting behaviors, because she definitely mimicked a lot of things that Nanook did. So it'll be really nice if she fits right in with these two, because they are very laid back, very sweet pigs that love attention and interaction, and I think Reese will really enjoy that as well. Everybody's napping right now, I think. So there's Huckle and Apple. Apple's a little bit under this liner, and there's Huckle. Those two always sleep really close to each other. They don't ever cuddle, but they're always right near each other. And then Bullseye and Angus, they sleep pretty close to each other too. They're both on top. There's Angus on the left and Bullseye on the right. And let's see where Bun is. Not seeing where he is. Bun could be anywhere right now. He usually likes to go behind the bins during the day sometimes when he's sleeping. But yeah, so that's what's going on right now. There's been a lot of changes.